Hey, good morning everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Well, we're getting some sun today. Last few days haven't seen the sun, so all the batteries are down a little bit, but the plus side is we were really low on water and it has rained many inches in the past few days, so water catchment is topped off. So if the sun's not shining, we're catching water, so that's a good trade-off. And it's going to be a little mixed bag, little showers and charging the systems today, so pretty good. So I've had quite a few of you ask recently, 12 volt, 24 volt or 48 volt systems, which do I prefer? And I have some of each up and running. And this is the original system here. This is what I call the whole house system. It's where we started with lithium iron phosphate, with those two Chins batteries tied in parallel for a 600 amp hour bank at 12 volts. And we have slowly over the past year upgraded continuously. And this is being fed by 1000 watts of solar, which is that back array right there. Got two strings of 500 watts tied in series for 1000 watts. That panel in front's just going to another small system on a lead acid battery, but in the back, that array right there is powering that Chin system, and it does a very good job of keeping that system full. And for those of you that have been following me from the beginning, you know I just started with one of those 300 amp hour lithium iron phosphate batteries by Chins. I quickly added a second one, tied it in parallel, and then started adding on various components. I've changed my charge controllers to the Victron smart charge controllers, 100 volt, 50 amp charge controllers. I've got two of them in sync, talking to each other as one, keeping this system up to snuff. You can see I've got a Victron charger there if I ever need to fire up the generator. I haven't had to do that in months. Solar isolator switch, breakers and fuses, emergency cutoff switch, 3000 watt pure sine wave inverter at 12 volts, and I have it hardwired into the house, and it's running everything, full-size refrigerator, everything else, TV, lights, basically the entire house. So I do love this 12 volt system. It's a very large 12 volt system, but it just keeps on cranking, and I've been so happy with it. Coming up on 2 years of 24/7 use, has never given me a problem whatsoever. And then as the channel has developed and I've been building other smaller systems to share with you guys, I built a small 24 volt system, which is right here. I've got the 24 volt time USB, 25.6 volt, 100 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery. We've been running this not 24/7, but every single day we tie in, we make our coffee here. Been showing you guys how that works. It's a very simple system. Only have 300 watts of solar coming into another Victron MPPT 75 volt 15 amp charge controller, and just a smaller 800 watt pure sine wave inverter. And I mostly built this just to kind of give a 24 volt system a run, and it's been doing great. It's a little more efficient than 12 volts. It charges up faster, discharges slower. So that was my first jump into the 24 volt. Use it every single day, absolutely love it. And then here's another 12 volt system that we use in a lot of the testing of batteries that roll in here. It's got and you can see I've got the same brand of pure sine wave inverters. That's from Reliable. I've got that 3000 watt in the back, 800, now that's at 24 volt. And then another 12 volt, 2000 watt there. And then this has 500 watts of solar tied into that. And you've seen me use this to charge up various batteries. Right now that red Odo is 100% full. So what I'm going to do in my daily monitoring of the system, now that that one's completely full, I have one that's really depleted that I'm going to go ahead and switch out and put in there and charge up. So these are largely for testing and showing you guys what these systems do. We do use them every day to some capacity, especially that 24 volt. Like I said, coffee, hot plate, whatever we want to do for experimenting and maybe give another system a break. So that's a 12 volt system, 24 volt, and I showed you that big 12 volt system in the back. And just loving all of them, and I haven't had any problem with any of them whatsoever. And then I'll show you the 48 volt system. And just before looking at that 48 volt system, here's the lead time battery that we fully depleted in an experiment, and because of the weather conditions couldn't kind of finish up that experiment. But anyway, that one's full now. It says 98.4% full up there. Good time for me to slip this one in. It's down to maybe 10% full. We fully depleted it. Gonna stick that in there and let it get up to a full charge today. And then on the back side, we've got the 48 volt system. And what we're running here is one, see if I can get a shot of it, 51.2 volt, 90 amp hour, 48 volt battery by Power Queen. Now this is a beast here. This is, you know, a massive battery, 4,608 watt hour battery. So it's a power machine, and we have it tied into a 48 volt 3000 watt pure sine wave inverter, again by Reliable Electric. I've been using their inverters exclusively, and I've never had a problem with any of them, which is why I keep going back to it. And I'll try and give you, it's built in a very similar system. I've got it underneath the table here, so it's a little hard for me to get in here, but anyway, you see the same controllers. This one can be a 48 volt charge controller, so I've got it set to that, and that's 150 volts and 35 amp smart solar charge controller. And this thing has been holding such a massive charge. It's just so amazing. It charges up faster. I've got 700 watts of power currently tied into that. I could tie a lot more into that, but that's been running this good. And we've been using this 24/7 to run a chest freezer, and for months, and I've never had to do anything different. Just 700 watts of power going into this big battery and running a supplement chest freezer. And this is the freezer that it's been running for months on end, 24/7. Of course, you know, everything in there is frozen rock solid, so, and it's pretty efficient. But just to give you guys some ideas of how we're running these systems out here. Now, as much as I built these systems to show you guys how everything works, and as we get different things to test, show you guys, I actually like having, you know, these various systems to play around with. You know, there's been a time or two that, you know, with the sun not working right, sometimes I've got the refrigerator working on this one. The battery gets depleted. I can switch it over to the 48 volt system, switch it back to the main house bank. So I'm able to play kind of musical batteries or musical systems, as well as keep showing you guys how everything's working out here. I do like having multiple systems. It's really nice. And especially if you have extra batteries, very easy. Even if you just had a second charging station, which is what I pretty much call this, charging testing station, for showing you guys all different kinds of things. And that really works well. Like right now, this 48 volt system that I was talking about, there it is. And you can see it's just running a nice steady 120 volts. reading the battery at 52.3 volts. And on the battery monitor, now that big 48 volt battery is down to 25%. And it'll get a nice charge today. Won't get fully charged, but it'll probably knock it up to about 50%. So, but if I wanted to, I could shut this system down, unplug that freezer, plug it in over here, and run it for many, many days on that, and probably even keep up with 500 watts of solar. But we have been getting some dark, rainy days, which has been a blessing because we have really caught some water, about 5,000 gallons. So we're in good shape that way. So, you know, I've had a lot of people ask me, so 12, 24, or 48 volt systems, what do you like the best? I like them all. And they're all just as easy to build. There's not one that I would say is more complicated than the other. The 48 volt is definitely more efficient. 24 volt, little less efficient than the 48. And then same with the 12 volt, little less efficient, but they're all working well. And if you have enough panels to fit into your application, any of these systems will work good. Now I would say, for those of you that are living off grid, thinking of living off grid, and you really want to have a system to run everything, and you're not going to have multiple systems like what I do, which a lot of it's for the channel, of course, but I mean, I would go 48 volt. Now the other thing with this is a 24 volt system, or a battery, but you could take two 12 volt batteries the same size and tie them in series, two of them in series, to make a 24 volt battery. So you don't have to have a specific 24 volt battery, or you could tie four of them together to make a 48 volt battery. So you do have some options of how to build a higher voltage system. I grew up, I might say, on 12 volts, so it's what I'm most comfortable with and what I've been happy with for the past 30 years. But I've been expanding a little bit and doing the 24 and 48, and been super pleased with that as well. So back to the main house 12 volt system. When I first built this, I didn't think I was going to need anything else, and I really didn't. And I'm not running a generator at all, even in the kind of conditions that we get out here, which we cannot see the sun for days, but because I do have some extra charging stations now and some extra batteries, I can move things around. Now, the one thing, I never switch these out. I just, on the rare occasion that one of these drops down to a low power, I'll just turn the system off and run one of those other systems for a day or two and let that one charge up. So there is that if you have an extra system, especially if you are 100% off grid like we are. Pretty nice to have another little charging station. But this 12 volt system works very well. Now the other thing, I have a fairly long run from the solar panels to this system, to where it would be even more efficient running I've got a 60-foot run, which is kind of at the upper end of running 12 volts. So it would be easier to push 24 volt system into here, and even easier to make it a 48 volt. But I'm leaving this one as is. It's all built for 12 volt, all 12 volt components, and that's just going to stay like it is. And it's been a good one for me to learn on as I've expanded into the higher voltage. But there is something to be said for those of you thinking about going into it. Higher voltage is more efficient, charges up faster. It's easier to do a longer run from your solar source to all of your components with higher voltage. So a lot of it's just going to be a personal choice. They're all very easy systems to build, like I've said. You do get more efficiency with the higher voltage. Basically all the components are comparatively priced. There's nothing that's like way more expensive if you go 48 volt or 24 volt. Everything's pretty reasonable these days, so you could just build whatever you want. They're all easy systems to build, all easily accessible online now. YouTube videos, everyone's building these systems and showing you how to do it. a lot better than I know how to do too. So there's just tons of great information out there. But yeah, use that every day. Use this every day, moving batteries around. Got a couple more batteries on the way we're going to show you guys. You'll recognize some of the brands coming up. All good fun. Having a good time. Yeah, getting some nice wind, little intermittent showers. As always, guys, thanks for tuning in. I hope that you gained some information. Whatever you're thinking about, there is something you could take home and think about. Good time to get on solar. Everything's pretty cheap. It's a lot of fun. You get a lot of satisfaction. No matter how you supplement your power with the sun, you'll be very happy you did. All right, you guys, any more things you'd like to see? I hope I kind of covered a couple of the questions some of you were thinking about on what size system to build or what kind of voltage to be using. That's just kind of the way I stumbled into higher voltage. It was actually part of this channel. I was always happy with 12 volt, still am, but I like the other voltages as well. And some of you guys will chime in that are living on these full-time like I am, and even have more points to share. Have a great day, everybody. Aloha.